Welcome to Revenue Mind, where revenue leaders get real about mental health. I'm Jolie. Stick around for honest stories, practical insights, and why well-being is the real bottom line. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome to Revenue Mind, a podcast where revenue leaders talk all things mental health. I'm Jolie, your host, and with us is Amber. Welcome, Amber.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited for our talk.
Yeah, me too. So the first question I typically ask is, what makes you you?
Well, that's a hard question. Let's see. Gosh, there's just so many things. I guess I'll go with the what makes me do what I do now, which is I am from an addicted family and I'm an addiction counselor specialist by training, but I'm also a business owner. And so I think that's what probably gives me my unique twist of things is sort of my background in mental health and then also my venture into business and going from being a counselor to being a business owner. That was a pretty big jump for me. In fact, I like to say I didn't even realize I was a business owner until I got that first year's tax bill. And I was like, holy crap, I'm running a business. I have no idea what I'm doing. And it was like a spiral crisis from there.
So just to clarify, you're an LLC under mental health, so you're doing both or you have a separate business?
No, I have a business for my practice, my mental health
Gotcha. Okay.
practice. Right, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah,
Mhm.
my mom's actually an LCSW.
Okay, like mine then. Okay, very good. What's it
Ye
like to be trained by, like, a therapist-y person? Is that, like, traumatic on your childhood?
Not at all, but thank you for asking.
It could be a lot to have a therapist-y mom, yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Like, usually, my guests are like, "Oh, yeah, so this feels like a therapy session, but since I'm with a therapist, this might turn into my therapy session, so I gotta be careful." So I'd love to hear about kind of your journey and how you got into this and your background. I know you mentioned the addiction in your family, but would just love for you to expand on that if you can.
Well, most people that do what I do as an addiction specialist, most people get into doing that for a very, personal reason. Usually, they're in recovery themselves, and that's not exactly my journey here. I actually ended up here by accident because originally I went to school to be a school teacher, and then that let me tell you, I taught high school for 3 years, and that was just like murder. Oh my god, that was so awful and hard. So I thought, "Well, let me see what else I can do." So I went back to school to get my master's degree, and I thought, "Well, I'll just be a school counselor," because I was in the school system, so it seemed natural. Well, once I started getting to the end of my program, I realized I can't afford to take off a whole year and be an intern. Like, I gotta, pay my bills. So at the last second, I changed my major to community mental health, and they put me in an addiction program. And because I taught high school for, 5 minutes, and because I had, a few weeks of training in some sort of adult addiction program, they decided that I would be the best person to design, create and run an addiction program for teenagers. And so I didn't wanna tell them that I didn't know what I was doing, so I said, "Absolutely. Yes, I'll do that." And I jumped into the deep end, no life jacket, no nothing. It was so scary. I was in so far over my head, it wasn't even funny. It was definitely sink or swim, but I was just gonna go with it. I wasn't gonna say otherwise. That was like my first big girl counselor job. I wasn't gonna tell them otherwise. I just did it. That's how I got here. A lot of people think I got here because I came from such an addicted family, but which is true, as in addiction everywhere, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, parents, everywhere. Like, really bad, like, my mom was doing meth with my sister, bad. But the crazy part about that is that I didn't even realize that until I was in the field. Not that I didn't realize people were doing substances, but I wouldn't have attached that word, addiction, to it because when you grow up in it, it's just your normal. Like, you don't even think anything about it. So, I wish I could say, I grew up in this and it inspired me to get in the field. It's not actually the case. I got in the field and then realized it looking backwards,
Wow, that is a powerful story. Usually it kind of works the other way around, you
right?
know?
I know.
So if, like not that you didn't realize, but like I have friends that are also LACs,
Mhm.
and a lot of them struggled with addiction, so they
Mhm.
became LACs, but you saw everything exploding around your family,
Uh-huh.
that was normal.
Right. Right. Yeah, you don't realize whatever you grow up in feels normal, right? Like, you don't realize that that's not the way I mean, you just don't think anything about it, right? It's your normal, so, I really wish I had a better origin story. I'm so jealous of people who have that good origin story. And I'm like, "Dude, I got here by accident." Because people always, always the first question I get asked, and they want this people are expecting, like, this big, crazy, wild story. I'm like, "Dude, I wish." In the beginning, when I was first in the field, I really was pretty self-conscious about it because it really is just the first question, not just for podcasts, but, like, when you get a new client or whatever, like, that's the first thing people wanna know is, "Are you in recovery?" And when I first started that teenage program, they would ask me that, and I didn't wanna say, "No, it wasn't," because I knew they would just immediately be like, "Oh my god, you don't know anything." And so I would say, "I'll tell you when you graduate," because by the time they graduated, I've won them over. And then if they remembered, they'd ask me again, and I'd tell them or whatever, but it didn't matter then. I used to be really, self-conscious about that because most people that are in this field are in recovery. And, in the beginning, it really was like a liability because not only did I not have a recovery experience myself, but also, people think they teach you this in counseling school and they do not. Like, you get one class on addiction and it involves go to a couple of 12-step meetings and come back, write a report, tell us what you thought. Seriously, like, that's it. That's all you get in counseling school. So I didn't have the, like, professional training background. I didn't have the experience background. I had nothing. And so when I was starting this program, my whole goal was to fly under the radar and keep my job, right? And so I decided that in order to do this, program I was running was like intensive outpatient for teenagers, which meant that they had to show up 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 6 to 9 p.m., 3-hour sections 3 times a week, addicted teenagers. And so my thought was, if these kids don't show up, I'm gonna lose my job. They're gonna know I don't know what I'm doing. So my whole mission was to make these kids show up. And so in the end, it's actually kinda cool because it's what made the program work. Because I really focused in on making it not a horrible experience so that they would show up and then I, wouldn't be caught not knowing what I was doing. And so, because of that and because they let me design the program, kinda developed this whole system where, like, if they graduated the program, they could keep coming back and be mentors to the other teens as long as they wanted to for free. As long as they weren't, like, wreaking havoc or anything, they could do that. And they liked to come. And so they wanted to be mentors, they wanted to keep coming. So they all got sober so they could be mentors and keep coming, so the whole thing worked. It was kinda cool.
That's amazing. Aside from the mentor program, within the actual program with the teenagers, how did you make it where they came back?
I really just focused on trying to build a relationship with them. A lot of addiction programs, there's this kinda, like, culture or mindset of there's just sort of like this feeling of like, come back when you want it. Like, oh, if you're not willing, if you don't want it, we'll be here. You go out there and suffer some more. There's an attitude about it, right? Well, I wasn't going to have that attitude because I needed these kids to show up, keep my job. So, like, I sort of went against that grain and built a relationship. And in order to do that, all you got to do is like them and they'll like you back. Honestly, and you gotta be interested in them genuinely and, like them, they'll like you back, and they'll show you the better, like, version of themselves, which makes them actually easy to like, and you get the real version, not, like, the defensiveness and that kind. And so, I feel like that's what made the whole thing work, and honestly, to this day, 20 years later, that's still what I do, is I just build a relationship with people, and I do it by being very different than what they expect, by not having that attitude, I don't see myself as like, you're a probation officer. I'm not the principal's office, which I think is what a lot of people expect when they come to some kind of addiction counseling. So, like, I tell my clients, I'm like, dude, I'm your defense attorney. Like, I see myself, I'm the person that's got your back, right? Because you're in a mess if you gotta come see me. No one believes you. You're in some kind of hot water, and I'm here to get you out of it. And so I'm on your side. We're aligned. We're in this together. I got you. And I think they don't really expect that, right? They don't expect for me to listen to them and their point of view and what they think about the situation, and that, I think, goes a long way to build trust, and now we have, like, a working relationship.
Yeah, I was laughing earlier because I got kicked out of IOP.
You got kicked out of IOP? What did you do to get kicked out of IOP?
I know. No, I wasn't. I just couldn't stop drinking. I was in New York and there was like this 3-day-week program, but it was for under 90 days, just
Okay.
to get you to 90 days. And I just couldn't I
Just
couldn't
couldn't do
even
it.
last a day. Yeah, so they actually recommended me to IOP, and I'm like, "Peace." And then 8 years later, 12 steps, and here I am, 4.5 years sober. So,
Yeah.
something works for everyone. It just kinda depends.
A lot of it's timing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. I've mentioned this on, I think, previous podcasts, but I had actually an LAC, licensed addictions counselor, tell me, "Julie, why don't you stop drinking? Just try it for like a day." And I
Yeah,
was like, "Wait, no, I can't." So the next day I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to 12 steps and see what's up." And it works when you work it, as they say
that's
in
right.
program.
What made you decide after that counselor asked you that, what changed in your thinking or clicked with you that made you decide to try 12-step?
Yeah, so I actually don't think I've talked about this, which is typically what happens with my guests, but why not? Um, so I had an encounter with actually a psychologist who kind of took advantage of my mental state, and the next day I said, "I'm done." That was my rock bottom. I'm done.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's,
Yeah.
like, terrible and great. I don't even know what to think about that. Like, my head is like, "What?" I don't even know. Gosh, that's,
Yeah,
like, messed
my
up.
it was pretty, I'll just say it, fucked.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
pretty fucked up.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it is.
It was pretty intense, but I honestly, I didn't report him because he lived in my building,
Mhm.
and it's pretty obvious who would report you. And the years went on, and honestly, I thank him, you know. I wouldn't be where I am today without what happened. You know,
Right.
you can look at it, oh man, like, trauma,
Mhm.
or you can and work and but then you can also look at it like, thank you, and now I'm gonna work through it in therapy.
Right, 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 right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
No.
that's a little bit about my story, but
Well, I like this is what I tell my clients, there's no bad reason. I've never heard a reason I didn't like. People say this thing, they say this thing, like, "You have to do it for yourself." I'm like, "That's baloney." No one who's alcoholic quits drinking because they don't wanna drink. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No one wants it for themselves. Like, everyone who stops an addiction stops because something bad, like, something external, something bad, a rock and a hard place, and there's no bad reason to do it. Like, if it's like, "I don't want my kids to be taken," I think that's great. If it's, "I don't wanna lose my husband or my wife," fantastic. If it's, "I don't wanna go to prison," even better. Like, that's just good judgment. There's no bad reason, you know?
exactly. Obviously, you won't name names, but is there maybe like a really complicated case where you were able to keep that relationship dynamic that you built that was able to, kinda get them to the other
I
side?
don't know if I can think of a specific case, but I can tell you that, even those teenagers that I first started with, I still see some of them now, they have their own kids, like they're grown-ups and all that kinda stuff. A lot of the people I see, they'll come to me off and on at different periods of their life, and sometimes it's like they come to see me for addiction, but later on, something else happens. It's not even addiction related, but we have, like, a trust relationship, so they'll come back. We'll just work through whatever the heck it is they're working on, you know? Because my goal is, like, when I get a new person, my thinking isn't like, "Okay, I gotta make this person get sober and stay sober forever." Like, that's not my thinking, y'all. My thinking is, I gotta make sure this person has a good experience so that if now's not their time, and maybe it's their time in 6 months or 2 years or 5 years, they're not gonna be scared to either come back to see me or go anywhere else and get help that they want to. I just wanna make sure they don't have one of those horrible experience that makes them be like, "I'll never do that again. I'm never," because a lot of people do, you know? And because of that, I think the clients that I've worked with over the years, they come back. And I see multiple people in their family, or I'll see them on and off for different things, and it's really cool to get to watch people learn and grow and change and build a life they love.
No, that's amazing. I mean, just I have a lot of respect for what you do, especially IOP. It's 9 hours a week is pretty intense. And so I was in a PHP for another addiction. I was talking to someone, I was like,
Okay.
I don't just have to have one, I can have multiple. Why not have multiple addictions?
Oh, if you've got one, chances you'll have another are pretty good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
exactly, the comorbidity. So,
Mhm.
people there, Oh my gosh, like VIOP, PHP, residency. I have real respect for people that do that because it's a lot for us, the patients that
Mhm.
are 10 hours a day, 70-hour weeks for me was over 2 months, and
Mhm.
then another 4 for VIOP, but for the people that lead it, whew,
Mhm.
like I hear from my friends, like they are just exhausted. They are
Yeah.
exhausted. They are so it's an amazing thing obviously to do, but I can't imagine how much effort that takes to step into someone's shoes, to establish that relationship. It's just, whew, a lot of respect.
I think that especially if you go into it thinking it's my job to make sure this person gets sober or they never drink or use or whatever again, you're gonna be stressed out. And the average like lifespan of an addiction counselor is 5 years in the field, which is wild because it takes more than 5 years to be able to do this work, like to even get the schooling to do it. And so if you come in with that mindset, I think that's what leads to that culture of come back when you want it, because there's just this frustration. And then what happens to, like, addiction counselors is, like, if this isn't working, it's their fault, right? They're not ready or they're not willing or they don't have insight or they're in denial or whatever. And for me, it's not that stressful because I don't put that pressure on myself. Like I said, my job is to make sure this is not a horrible experience for this person, and that makes it so much easier, right? And honestly, it makes it so much easier and the better chances of them getting sober, right? Because I don't have this pressure on myself, which means I don't burn out as easily, right? Like, my job is just to connect to you. I tell my client, my job is to help you do whatever it is you're trying to do. Like, my job is to be on your side. You tell me what we're doing, we're going to do it, right? And if that didn't work, we got plan B, plan C, plan E, whatever. We're going to figure it out. And I don't stress about it. And that allows me to, I think, have the energy and the motivation to keep at it, because you really would be, like, down in the dumps if you tied your sort of professional well-being to other people's sobriety, because it takes people multiple times, like, it takes you a lot of times, like, that's normal, so
Yeah, that makes total sense. If you do happen to get burned out, do you have any tips or tricks just kind of in general in that field?
I think if you get burned out, I think you gotta like, look at why it is. Is it like, "I don't like doing this work," or is it like, "I don't like working for this company I'm working for," or, "I hate my boss," or, "I don't like my hours," there could be a lot of different pieces to it. If it's about the actual work, like working with clients who have mental health or addiction, then it's about changing your mindset on what you're trying to do. If you'll just shift, if you'll reframe that a bit, you'll feel less frustrated, I think.
So cognitive behavioral therapy reframe.
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, like, what am I trying to accomplish here, right? Yeah. These days, I'm really lucky because I have my own practice. I don't do IOP anymore. I see, and this just sort of happened, but mostly these days I see, like, businessmen who drink too, just kinda like this weird, like, little subspecialty that fell on me because I just love them. I love it. I say I love an alcoholic. I know that's crazy, but I just love an alcoholic. And the business owners, I really relate to them, and so, like, and they're not all business owners. Like, I see a lot of, like, what I would call, like, A-type people, like physicians, airplane pilots, attorneys, that kind of, they're real driven. I think that's why I like alcoholics, because they tend to be real, like, ambitious, like, go-getting, charismatic kind of people, honestly. So, I kinda get to see who I wanna see now, so it's even better. It's even easier.
So they're sober while they're flying the plane.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me tell you what, like, it's r airplane pilot, that's probably the strictest you can get, way stricter than anywhere else. They are, but that doesn't mean they don't have an alcohol problem, like, yeah.
I mean, there are many just people in super high power positions that are sober, and it's think it's okay to be sober. And I feel like I'd love to get your opinion on this. I feel like a there's still a little bit of prejudice against people with mental illness and addiction. Do you think it's evolving and maybe going away with the conversations, or do you think there's still a little bit of, well, you can't talk about that?
I don't know, I think, to be honest, like, you know what my clients worry about? They worry about what people are gonna think if they don't drink or don't use anymore, more than anything. People talk about the stigma of addiction keeping people from getting help. I mean, yes, I think that could be it, but the bigger thing about why people don't get help for addiction is because they have ambivalence about it, and they're not sure if they wanna stop, and they don't wanna be, like, forced into stopping if they're not sure. it's really a lot more than about that than it is the stigma. Now, because I do see a lot of, like, professionals and businessmen, there is a stigma sometimes about, like, getting help because of, like, their professional reputation, so sometimes they'll, like, look out of town or virtual or something like that. That's a thing, but I tell my clients, I'm like, "Dude, anybody's in recovery." It's literally, like, the cool thing to be. All the cool rock stars and movie stars, like, "What are you talking about?" Like, it's trendy.
Yeah, for sure, and there's a huge movement for non-alcoholic beverages. I mean, everywhere I
Oh,
mean, at
yeah.
least in Colorado, like, everywhere I go, there's a non-alcoholic/mocktail slash mocktail option.
I know, and they're getting better and better. Clients are always telling me, like, because used to there was just, like, O'Doul's or whatever, but these days there's, like, all these cool options. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a line between drinks that taste like juice and drinks that takes closer to alcohol. And
Right.
that's like NA beer, NA wine, or NA
Mhm.
XYZ. It's like, no, I'm not gonna. I mean, maybe some people can probably test it. I can't because I'm just.
Yeah.
I'll go right back.
Yeah, I've had it work both ways for clients. Some clients think it really helps them, and some clients say it's a trigger, so it can go either way.
Exactly. If there's one thing you could tell someone that is currently going through an addiction, active
Mhm.
addiction, what would you say?
I would say don't listen to all these, like, negative statistics and stuff that are out there. Like, I hate it when people are like, "Only 10% of people beat this thing." I'm like, "Dude, people beat this thing every day, and most people beat it without ever going to treatment." That's what the research says. So don't listen to all that negativity, and I don't care if you've tried it 10 times, it takes everyone 10 times. Like, each one of those times you learned something, and instead of seeing it as like, "Well, I always mess up," it's like, "Dude, like, what are you learning along the way? We're getting there." It is a learning process like any, so, I just say don't listen to all that, like, people just make it bigger than it has to be. They say, "No one makes it, and you're gonna be this for the rest of your life, and you're gonna have to go to meetings forever, or you're gonna" I mean, I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, you're not I hate when people say things like that because 'cause I'm like, "You're not making a recovery sound appealing." Like, that's not selling it very well.
I still go to meetings probably about once a month with one of my really good friends, and
Mhm.
just to be like a refresh. I call it a refresh because,
Yeah.
yeah, I've said this probably plenty of times on different podcasts, but basically for me, if I don't treat it as one day at a time, that's when I go back.
Mhm.
If I get comfortable, oh, like a couple years ago, I made this comment like, huh, I wonder if I could appreciate the taste of wine. Addict thought. It's like
Yeah, right,
a
yeah.
total addict thought. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, in and out for 8 years. Oh, I can handle this. Then, showing up like hungover AF at work and having to go home. So I would walk straight to an AA meeting. It's like I'm not a high functioning alcoholic.
Okay.
I'm a very low functioning alcoholic.
Okay.
So I just kind of
Yeah.
stopped there. But anyways, this was great. Anything you want to leave for people listening?
So I think when you especially if you're in business, a lot of times your job involves drinking. It's like literally part of your job description. Like I can't tell you how many people I've seen that are like marketing and sales and their job was to like take clients out and drink with them. Like and I'm like, dude, no wonder you ended up here. So I think that's a big part of it, like business, relationships, like there's a piece of that that involves drinking that definitely contributes to the issue. But there's also sort of like this and, I don't know if this is in a book somewhere, this is just my experience, but there's this personality trait of people that are really driven and they're really ambitious and they're really go-getters, and I think it kind of leads towards drinking too much because it's like they don't know how to turn that part of their brain off, like, at the end of the day. Like, they know how to get things done, but they don't know how to sit and just be or just chill with their family or just relax at, like, a family event. They don't know how to do that. And they feel, like, uncomfortable and squirmy in those situations, so they drink in order to be able to do that, because 'cause they're trying to work against their operating system, that's what I call it. And so there's just a lot of reasons why you might end up with a drinking or any other it doesn't have to be alcohol, it could be any other substance. I just found that a lot of times it is alcohol because they're using it to try to relax. They don't know how to turn that part of their brain off. And so my thinking is let's not turn that part of your brain off. Like, instead of trying to be something you're not, like, let's figure out who you are and roll with it instead of trying to, like, fit yourself in some spot that you don't fit in, you know?
That makes total sense. I feel like putting yourself or square peg round hole syndrome
Mhm.
really gets to people.
Yeah.
Like for me, alcohol was shutting my brain off, kind of to your
Mhm.
point. Mine was because I had really interesting things going through my brain. But also, I'm very
Mhm.
type A. I'm very, very type
Right.
A, very OCD, just that typical,
Mhm.
just perfectionist, everything that an eating disorder is like, everything that an addict
Mhm.
is,
Uh-huh.
where we end
Yep.
up and where we're, in getting help. But no, that makes total sense. I really relate to that. Cool. So where do we find you? Would love to hear the deets.
Well, of course, my name is Amber Hollingsworth, and you can find me anywhere. I'm on all social medias, but the best place to find is on YouTube. I'm really consider myself a YouTuber mostly. And, the channel's name is kind of strange, so I'll tell you what it is, called Put the Shovel Down. A lot of people are like, "What does that mean?" It's an old recovery saying that one of the teenagers in that first program I used to run, he used to say it all the time, say, "You hit your bottom when you put your shovel down." And I'm a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of waiting for people to hit, like, these horrible bottoms. I'm like, "Dude, you can be done, put the shovel down. You don't have to burn every bridge. You don't have to be miserable or lose all the relationships. Like, we don't gotta go there. You can decide, 'Nah, this is bad enough, I think I'm.'" So, you can find me on YouTube at Put the Shovel Down.
Awesome. This was great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Amber.
No, thank you for having me. This has been great. I appreciate it, Jolie.
Of course. That's a wrap for Revenue Mind, where we cut the BS and spotlight mental health and revenue leadership. I'm Jolie, reminding you your mindset is your competitive edge. Thanks for listening. See you next time.